Hi, this is Jeff Johnston, Senior Portfolio Manager at Empire Life Investments. Now, as you may have heard, the credit rating of the Government of Canada was downgraded recently from AAA to AA, or more specifically, AA high. And the reasons cited were, of course, rising debt and deficit levels. And there's definitely some concerns about there. And we've been getting some questions about what it means for Canadian investments, and especially Canadian bonds, which is what I do, and in particular what it means in terms of borrowing costs for the Government of Canada. We actually think that it's not as serious as is generally believed out there for a few reasons. Number one, it was Fitch that downgraded them. They are a kind of a tier 2 rating agency. The big guys like S&P and Moody's and DBRS up here in Canada, they all continue to rate Canada as AAA. Now, you could say that Fitch is just the start of a trend, and that the other ones will maybe follow suit. But even if they do, it doesn't necessarily have, or it will not have, a material impact on bond yields. And that's because, and this is the main point, is that Canada is a sovereign issuer of its own currency over which it controls. It issues entirely in Canadian dollars, or almost entirely in Canadian dollars. There's virtually no foreign currency debt. And what that means is that they could pay off the entire debt tomorrow if they wanted to, in one giant quantitative easing program. And I know what you're thinking, that won't that be inflationary? And really it wouldn't be. I mean, if QE were inflationary, we would have seen it by now. But you probably have saw the recent inflation numbers out of Canada, or I should say deflation, because the headline number was actually negative. And the reason why QE is not inflationary is because it's basically just an asset swap. It's swapping cash for bonds. For example, if you held $10,000 worth of Canada bonds, and I were the Bank of Canada, and you exchanged those bonds with me for cash, would you be any better off? No, you would still have $10,000 worth of assets. The only difference being that it's cash instead of bonds. So your assets haven't increased, your net worth hasn't increased, and your spending power hasn't increased. And that's really the reason why QE is not inflationary. And I think the bond markets realize that, and that is why rates remain so low. The 10-year Government of Canada yield is currently only about 50 basis points. And the 30-year it broke below 1% the other day, and that's actually lower than it was prior to the downgrade. So there you go. And the same thing actually happened in the U.S. When they were downgraded. I believe it was 2011, and yields dropped after that. And lastly, Japan, which is in a far worse situation than Canada is with respect to debt. Their debt to GDP is north of 200%, whereas ours is below 100%, depending on how you calculate it. But Japanese yields are 0% because they are also sovereign issuers of their own currency. So I don't think there's too much to worry about as far as the Government of Canada is concerned. I know there's a lot of other things to worry about these days, especially health-wise. But the creditworthiness of the Government of Canada should not be one of them, or at least it should be pretty low down on your list. So hopefully that helps. And thank you for listening, and good luck out there.